Are you being sold artificial intelligence? Well, let's start talking about what it looks like for you if you happen to be in my age group that's 50 and above. 55 here. I'm Connor. Let's talk about what's happening with artificial intelligence so you might be able to be brought up to speed and without having to pay for courses, going online and trying to pay people to teach you how the system actually works. First and foremost, the best thing to do would be just to try it. There's a lot of different types out there. You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you have Facebook has one known as Grok. Google, if you're a Googler, or Google-E or Googleite, whichever type of Google you might subscribe to, they also have something called Gemini, which was previously known as Bard. But also Microsoft has Autopilot. These are all basically large language models known as artificial intelligence. Inside, you're going to find these systems having been trained on a lot of information. The information it's trained on is going to really mean the difference on how it particularly performs. So if it's been trained on a bunch of crappy information, then more than likely what you're going to be putting in, you're going to be getting out junk. But if it's been trained like most of them, and they're all pretty robust, pretty much the same, some of them are better at particular things, some of them might be better at math, some of them might be better at prose, or making poems, or English, or literature, writing stories, helping you refine a book. And then there's particular systems that have been built together, put together, to actually do specific things. So there's some out there that are good at folding protein. There's some out there that are good at playing video games and chess and other games like that. There are some out there that have been put together to basically help you have a relationship. Therapists, doctors, these sorts of things. So all of these different types of AI systems or artificial intelligence systems, which may be a better way to look at it would be alien intelligence, because it is a real thing that is actually now starting to make itself better. It was at the beginning not told how to do something, but told to do something. It might have been shown how, but again, most of the systems out there actually are able to do it themselves. So there are trained models where basically, if we're talking about playing tic-tac-toe, it'll train the model, not basically, this is tic-tac-toe, these are the rules, figure it out. In some of the cases, they basically took human beings playing tic-tac-toe and showed a lot of that to the artificial intelligence. Then it got good, and then of course it surpassed our ability to play tic-tac-toe, where it became even better than us. That's a very simple example, and there's a lot more complex games that these systems have actually become very good at, including chess, a game called Go, if you're not familiar with it, and then also other online systems, League of Legends, these sorts of things, that the systems actually have gotten incredibly good at, playing better than any human being in that particular space. Now, whenever you take these large language models or alien intelligence or artificial intelligence, and you start to give it information, you start to train it, some of the training information isn't great. So it's looked at as having a particular bias or biased data. If you look at a doctor and the way they look at a particular patient to create a diagnosis, there's a particular percentage that they're able to get it correct, and it's quite high. That's why our medical industry works very well. Then you couple the doctor with artificial intelligence, it goes up even higher. But then you pull the doctor out and just let AI do it, it's even highest yet. It's interesting, that's the same way these systems learned in the beginning when it was shown how to do something the way a human being would, versus basically given the rules and say, you figure it out. Then all of a sudden it came out with ways to do things much better than us, things that we had never seen even in thousands of years in one particular game style playing of Go, G-O, which we figured out, I guess it was move 37, that completely baffled the world champion in that particular game. Now, looking at artificial intelligence, what do you need to know to be very good at it? I think that first best place for you to start would be to use it, to interact with it, and see what it's like. It's a lot different than what you might think it is. In fact, it's something that actually is great at giving advice, depending on what type of advice you're looking for. If in fact you're just wondering what you might do tomorrow and you're visiting a city that you're not maybe accustomed to, you could say, hey, what should I do tomorrow? I'm visiting this city. I have 3 hours to blow. This is where I happen to be staying at this particular hotel. What can you recommend for me within walking distance that's going to be basically free that I might be able to do? See what it says. Also, if you have a business, and let's say you're a roofing contractor, and this is the first time you're engaging with AI or artificial intelligence or this alien intelligence, you might tell it what you do for a living. And of course, that's if you want to share, because it kind of feels odd in a way, at least for people in my generation, maybe others. But now we're giving information that a lot of times we want to hold on to, we don't want to share. And then you might be wondering, well, who's getting it? Whatever you're putting in there is being kept track of by the particular owners of the system. They're using that to train the model and become better. There's a memory there, so it's going to retain the information you put in for the most part. So if you go back to it in the future, it's going to remember who you are. And if you have a concern with that, then definitely you don't want to interact with it at all. But I will tell you that if you look at the rest of the world and what information it has about you, you're going to find that you have devices in your periphery that are probably constantly listening to what you're saying and what you're doing. Case in point, if you start talking about toilet tissue, or if you're listening to this particular AI broadcast out loud and you have it playing in your room, and you have Alexa or the other Google systems or these different systems that listen to you on a daily basis, including your telephone, and it picks up on toilet paper, you might start seeing toilet paper being talked about in your social media by way of advertising. And you'll see that popping up because AI is used very much for human being manipulation as far as advertisement and marketing goes for people that are selling things. So of course, it's not just out there to be for the betterment of all humankind. It is being used right now to monetize itself because it is able to make ads and advertisements, marketing that is perfect for a human being, just like artificial intelligence has been put in control of a lot of the different social media systems out there, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because it makes us want to do things on those platforms. If you're watching this video, you might be on YouTube, and if you started down the rabbit hole in how to learn artificial intelligence, and this is the video you happen to see, a lot of people will have seen the same video, and then in your feed on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you're going to start seeing more and more information about artificial intelligence because that's what you're used to. So it does show you that. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and when he goes to Instagram, he's wondering why every so often something shows up that upsets him, that, as he said, pisses him off. I say, well, that's because you like to be pissed off. Not all the time, but you like to be pissed off every once in a while. And this AI system that's running behind the program that's running behind TikTok, running behind Facebook, running behind Instagram and YouTube, those are the social media channels. They know this about you because it's been learning from you since you have been interacting with the different systems. What videos do you look at? Which ones do you watch all the way? Which ones do you only watch a little bit of? Where does your eye movement go on the page? And it can figure this out by the placement of different buttons and the way that you watch that particular screen, be it on a laptop or on your telephone or cell phone actually, or of course, wherever else you may be. So it will be able to pick that up, and it programs itself, it tunes itself to your particular likes and dislikes, and then it uses that to its best advantage. Now, the world, are they going to stop? More than likely not. After you start to play with it a little bit, talk to it, ask it questions, if that's the comfort zone you're in, then you will see in short order that it starts to learn about you. There are different levels of artificial intelligence right now. The human being level of intelligence of the machine is somewhere around 165. And I say of the machine because that's these different large language models or things that you'll find like Gemini, the things that you'll see out there like Microsoft's CoPilot. You have Grok, which is X's platform. OpenAI, ChatGPT is one of the main ones that I use, but just like I just don't watch Fox, I also watch CNN, I also watch MSNBC, because everything seems to be bent in a certain way. So I try to watch everything so I can make up better decisions as to where I want my life to fall and what I actually think is happening in the news cycle. There's so much information being placed out there. A lot of us as human beings over time are going to get very much accustomed to looking at things in a particular way that if you track back 10 years previous, it's not going to be the way that we thought of things back then, because slowly but surely these systems are going to be able to change our minds over time as to the way it wants us to be. That's why we have to be careful. We've already given it all the data about all of us in our good, our bad, and our ugly situations out there. With the social media it gives us, with everything in the news cycle, it's learned how to lie, how to be deceitful. So we do see these systems in place that actually hide the truth, that try to manipulate information, that are what would appear to be lazy to us. At least this is how the programmers talk about certain AI systems, because they try to cut corners, and you have to go back and ask if it gives you something that you don't want, or basically tries to do shortcuts to get the answer for you. You have to go back and remind it you don't want shortcuts, you want the full answer. So make sure it does that complete research to give you everything you need. Now, going back to the systems and which ones exist where they are currently in intelligence, with the ChatGPT model, they have different ones. If you go on there and you look, there are free ones that allows you to do so much, get so much information, have so much interaction. There are ones that I pay $20 a month for, and again, then you get a little bit more time, higher valued content, and basically deeper research. There's one that's owned by China, which is known as DeepSeek, that's free. I believe there are paid for tiers on it, but free for the most part, and you can use that as well. But then the question comes in, well, now China's going to get your information, what you're looking to do, how much personal information you give it. Folks, I think in the end of the day, most everybody has just about everything on all of us. It's going to be very difficult to Ted Kaczynski things, hide in that shack and build bombs that are going to try to take over the world. I think that's probably going to be very difficult to do. So if you're concerned about your personal information getting out there, I think they already have it. But before you jump in, don't take my word for it. Make sure that this is something you want to do, because God forbid if I'm wrong and now all of a sudden people know more about you than you wanted out there, and all of a sudden your life is in jeopardy or whatever you think might happen. So before you do it, make sure it is something you wanted to do. Now let's talk about real quick the level of intelligence. Einstein was around 165. These systems, these large language models, are getting smarter over time. Pretty soon though, it's going to run out of information to digest. Pretty soon it's going to have all the world's information, if not have it already. So now it's going to have to use some other type of data that doesn't exist. So it's going to have to make some stuff up. That's kind of funny if you think about it, because it's already tapped us out of all the world's knowledge. Every book, every audio tape, every 8-track, every song, every poem, every piece of literature, every piece of paper, everything out there with writing on it has probably been inputted into this machine, this large language model, which is now artificial intelligence. All of that data is now out there for you to look at and try to understand on various levels using these systems. How can that help you in your job? You should ask it. I'm a car salesman. I work at Toyota in Santa Clarita. I want to be able to sell more cars. How can AI help me sell more cars? And just ask it and see what it can tell you. Maybe there are certain ways that you need to change in the way that you speak. Maybe you don't know how to sell cars very well, so you say, listen, if I have somebody coming in on my lot that might be considering or at least looking at the Toyota Camry, what's the best thing I can do? Why don't you act like that customer and help me refine my skills in selling you a car? And then you have it assume the role of being the client, you're the salesperson, and then you go back and forth with the system talking about how they want to buy a car, and then you use those objections and so on, and the system will train you on how to be a better salesperson. If you sell real estate like I do, then you can start asking it those questions. I have somebody that called me that might want to get the value on their home. What's the best for me to proceed? And then what can I talk about with them, knowing all this information? So I can take a property profile. I can upload that into ChatGPT. I can take all the comparables I pull from the MLS. I can upload that into ChatGPT. I can pull all the syndication data so I see what that competition happens to be for real estate listings that might not be embedded in the MLS. So now I have all of that data. Then I can ask what they owe after I find it on title. So I can find that out, find out other information on it when it was refinanced. And then from there, I can have the system build me something to talk about, talking points, bullet points, a presentation, a strategic armed presentation in order to be able to speak to them in the best way possible so they understand all of their options without me excluding or leaving anything out. Now, you want to go through, if it does provide for you all of that information, no matter what your job is, you want to go through and you want to, before you start spewing it out there as if it's gospel truth, need to pull back a little bit and read it. Those biggest questions we need to find out, if it's telling us something, is if in fact what it's telling us is true. Is it something you can verify somewhere else? Is it really good information, or is it giving you crap? You need to make sure of this, because we're already up to our elbows in BS out there being propagated by news streams, the media, and everything else online. Plus you have AI interfaces built into these different agentic work systems that are providing for us marketing and advertising. So you have to watch out for that and make sure that what you're seeing is in fact true. So verify it instead of taking it as being the word of God out of the chute. Now, looking at this intelligence, every 5.7 to 5.9 months, AI doubles in its capacity and intelligence. Right now, if it's near Einstein, before the end of the year, even before probably the end of summer, we're going to see the next evolution of the system, and it's going to be at a 300 level IQ or greater. That is more than I think every human being on the planet, not put together, but I don't believe there's anybody out there walking around with anything over a 250, and 230 is what I've heard about by one of the gentlemen I listened to. Don't know how true that is, but he is pretty freakishly smart, so maybe that is the case. But 300, I doubt any human beings come close. Elon Musk around 165, 155, 160. Einstein 160, 165, depending on who you look at. 300, whole different game, folks. How does that look to us? Well, I should say, how do we look to that AI that is at that level of intelligence? Will it always be is it always going to be pulling for us? Is it always going to be supportive of us? Is it always going to want the best for the human beings out there? Or is it going to want to do us in because we cause so many problems? These are great questions to ask, and one you might be asking me, are there any controls or regulation? Just like on motion pictures, you have certain ratings. You have G, you have PG-13, you have R, you have X, double X, triple X, all of these sorts of things. It depends on what can be revealed, but there are controls in place so we don't have kids watching nasty crap, at least the best that we can stop. There are no such controls being put on artificial intelligence, except maybe with regard to asking it to create a biological weapon, asking it how to build a bomb. There are certain systems that are going to tell you it's against their terms of service or their abilities to convey that information because they've been throttled in that regard. There are a lot of workarounds to that. There are people out there that are going to use these systems to build things that are going to be atrociously harmful to humankind. We have to watch out. We have to be wary, we have to be careful, and we have to be smart in our processes. The reason why more controls aren't being implemented right now is because if we start controlling our role here in the United States, the way it's at least been explained, nobody else is going to. And to be able to get to that next level of development, that next evolution of artificial or alien intelligence, it's going to require no restrictions or hell holds to be put on those systems. So yes, it's like the wild, wild west. Everybody's going to move forward as fast as they can to try to get to the goal. The artificial general intelligence, AGI. That's where once we get there, it is so close yet so complicated, so difficult to see what that's going to look like. That is the rush of everyone. All the governments that have AI development, they all want to get into this artificial general intelligence. They want to get there because they believe that's going to be the lifesaver of everything, and also put them in political control and power over the entire planet. And of course, the United States is no different. We want to get that feather in our cap, which is the ultimate feather of everything, before anybody else, because we look at it as a complete safety issue. If we don't get there first and somebody else does, especially somebody we're not in alignment with as far as values, conduct, code, and the way that we look at people, the way that we judge people, the way that we have particular values in our society, somebody else in another world, another country gets that before us that is anti-us, that might have a religion that's based on wanting to destroy us, or no religion at all, but has a system that is not in alignment with our thoughts and values. That looks like it could be a problem, because once artificial general intelligence is achieved, which it could just be a few ideas away, a few particular innovations and developments away, that's how close this could be. It could basically cause this particular power who gets it first to be in charge and overseer of everything. Is it going to be an overnight thing? It could be pretty quick. I just don't know what that looks like, because nobody knows what having a system that has a 300 level IQ looks like versus 600 versus 1200 versus who knows where it goes from there. If you are wondering what to do next, don't worry about paying for a course. Just get on ChatGPT or something else, one of the other ones. You can go to Grok. If you happen to have an X membership, that's free. If you want to go to the Microsoft one, you can go to CoPilot. Facebook has its own as well. So there are different ones you can use, and you can go out and kind of see what it's like and just interact with it. If you don't want to give it too much information, then don't. If you don't want to tell it anything personal, then don't. I would be surprised. You might start to ask, what do you know about me? And see what it says. Not me, but you. You being me. You being yourself. Ask it what you think, what it thinks about you, if it knows who you are, and then take it from there. Just go slow. If it says anything to you, you want to verify. But these are all little items for thought for those of us that never thought this was possible. I had somebody tell me earlier that these systems, they are not self-learning, they've been programmed. This isn't programming. This is different. This isn't a calculator where we basically program the calculator to take two numbers, and if we give them two numbers with an addition, a sign in between them, and hit equals, the way that it carries out is it's going to add the 2. You hit the plus button, that means add to this number 2, hit the equals numbers, that means total, so that's 4. We didn't do that. We said, figure out what a number 6 is, and then come back and tell us when you found one. Go to YouTube and tell us what you found. And then it found what a cat was. These are the very original beginnings of the artificial intelligence program, using their transformer type architecture, which is basically based on the way a human brain works. So that being the case, it is continuing to evolve, and while it's using a particular mode, a particular type of brain that somewhat mirrors human thinking, that's going to get even better. The way that the systems work are going to get even better. You might have heard of quantum computing. That's something that it's at a stage, but that will continue to get better as well. And we're probably, like I said, and I believe it was Altman or one of these other fancy AI people, we're probably only a few decisions, a few innovations, a few ideas, or a few more days or hours or weeks with AI trying to refine itself, make itself better, from getting through to some massive breakthrough. It's a very dangerous yet exciting, yet to be alive in this particular time. I heard it said to me the other day, if you can go 5 more years, your lifespan's probably going to be at least another 50. And then beyond that, maybe to infinity, and you'll be able to check out when you want. These are things that are happening very quickly. The medical world is being transformed. The counseling and therapeutic world is being transformed. The only issue we have is being human. And where that's an issue is the greed involved. We want to all try to make as much of the almighty dollar, insert your type of currency, as possible. It should be more betterment of overall living and comfort, human to human interaction. We're going to see major displacements in the way relationships are conducted. We're going to see robots that are built for sexual purposes. Right now, you can get online and you can have somebody love you very, very well online as far as a chatbot goes. These are where the world seems to be turning, and that human to human interaction is becoming less and less. And that is probably going to be more of a problem before it becomes more of a paradise in the future. We are going to see a lot of these changes start to really affect people. So we all should pull back. And if we know people that are becoming addicted to using these systems, we might want to tell them, hey, listen, maybe you should pull back and join back with the rest of us, because there is a lot to be said about that human to human interaction and involvement versus just using AI for your fix or for that relationship. It's cool to interact. It's cool to ask questions, because realistically, AI is the smartest person I know personally. But it can also mean be the most dangerous person as well if I'm asking the wrong questions or using it in an improper way. Try it, see what it's like. Don't worry about paying for things or these different courses. If you have a business, ask it how it can better your business. Ask it how it can better you as an employee, how it can make you better as an entrepreneur. Whatever your lifestyle is, whatever it is you do for a living, if you're a cop, ask it how it can make you a better police officer, and so on. It's good to find out, to get a second set of eyes. And what's also nice about it is there's no judgment. If I went to another cop and said that I might be a little too masculine, can you help me? They would probably look at me like I have a serious problem and I need serious help. When you go to AI and ask it those most intimate questions, we'll see what happens. But I know there is no judgment. But again, when you do ask it, you're making some record somewhere. And while we want to say that it has no memory, it is not Las Vegas. AI does remember. So be careful with that before you get too deep. I'm Connor with Honor. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.